Show for you today. I actually can't believe this. We have two future Hall of Famers breaking down Wild Card Weekend. Luke Kuechly joins us every week. He's like family here. He's going to dive deep into some of the matchups. We've got some coaching stuff with him we'll go over. And then for the first time on this show, Super Bowl champion, three-time All-Pro Richard Sherman is here. He's covering Steelers-Ravens for Amazon this weekend, so we'll get into Russ. He's got a connection to Jimmy Harbaugh. He's got Pete Carroll vibes. Is he coming back? I want to see him riddle me how you would stop George Pickens in this one. Lots to get into. Oh, so much to get to, so little time. We've got Matthew Hamilton alongside. We've got Wild Card, Wild Fires, all things wild here going on. I just want to say thanks for checking on me yesterday.
Of course, you know, I'm glad you're doing okay. How are things going this morning? I haven't checked in the last 20 minutes, so wanted to see how you're doing.
I'm okay. A lot of people aren't okay. We continue to, in all earnestness and sincerity, check in on each other here on the show. We're a bi-coastal show. We've got people on the East Coast, based here, of course, on the West Coast. Continue to, you know, send good vibes and thoughts to everybody dealing with something. And everybody is dealing with something in this 2025 year. It is sort of wild. We've got lots to get to. We're going to sort of go over this concept, and then we're going to show the schedule here of travel agents. You know, like we came up with this yesterday. Because there's this, you know, teams, week 18, or right when they're one and done Wild Card Weekend, they're thinking about, where am I going? How am I going to get out of here? Everyone in LA is trying to get the F out of here. Like, believe you me, whether it's San Diego or I thought about driving to Vegas yesterday. You're planning your vacation if all things go to hell, okay, on Wild Card Weekend and so on. So we're going to call that travel agents, people who sort of are ready to ruin it for the other team, X factors within the game, the dynamics and all of that. But what a freaking show. Luke Kuechly and Richard Sherman, how'd you pull that?
I can't take any credit, you know. Shout out to MH.
Yeah.
Get it done. Sure. We've been wanting Sherm for I think 3 years, so really excited to finally get him on the program.
And a perfect person to break down this because he's got so many ins and outs, and there are so many things to discuss here. Vikings, Rams, that one's Monday night in LA. Talking about the fires here. It could be moved to Arizona if it continues to be as disruptive as it has been. Hopefully not, but this is the, you know, situation as it unfolds here. Keep an eye on that. As for some of the other stuff going on, Eagles, Packers, Jalen Hurts returned to practice for the first time. He's recovering from a concussion. Jordan Love limited with his elbow injury, still lingering, but he's hopeful to play. Philly still a 4.5-point fave there. And we got the update we've been waiting for. Marshawn Lattimore, full go for the Manders at practice yesterday, meaning there's a very good chance we get that battle with Mike Evans on Sunday night. Let's do it, guys. Before this weekend's action, here are the travel agents you need to keep your eyes on. These are the few X factors who could be sending the opposition on an early vacation. I'm going to hit you with the NFC side today. We'll do the AFC tomorrow. I'm going to go with Romeo Doubs. Christian Watson, feel better. He's done. I think these guys are going to put it on for him. The Eagles, they're focused on Josh Jacobs and Jaden Reed, who torched them, of course, in week 1. This is a door opener, a big opportunity for Romeo Doubs to have a huge game. He's healthy. He's back at practice. He was the toast of the town at training camp when I was there. Show up, okay? He can shine here. He averaged 117 yards per game during Green Bay's playoff run last year on over 20 yards per catch. If the Packers are going to beat the Eagles in this #1 ranked pass defense, it's going to take big plays downfield, and that's where Romeo is at his best. 11 targets in the last game he played without Watson. He fills in. He steps up. And they need him. He's going to get opportunities. Matter from cashing in. Line for receiving, by the way, over on FanDuel Sportsbook, 47.5. I like the over there on FD Sportsbook. Next, another travel agent, another person ready to send the other team packing is the Sunday nighter. Yes, I'm the one who loves the Evans and Lattimore, and I talk about it ad nauseum. But how about Bucks rookie receiver Jalen McMillan? He could be the key to breaking this game open against the Commanders. Take a look at this. Okay, in the last 5 games, no receiver in the entire NFL has scored more touchdowns than McMillan. 7. 2 more than Jefferson, Devontae, Addison, T. Higgins over that span. This is a good company here. He's been Baker's go-to guy in some key situations down the stretch. It was Jalen that Baker turned to and trusted on 4th and 8 with the entire season on the line last week against the Saints, and then went right back to a play later, right back to him. Game-winning 32-yard touchdown. That's not young cat stuff. That's big dog stuff. I love it. And toe drag swag. Hey, Nate Burleson, what a catch there. Jesus. Wow, that's amazing. Filling the Chris Godwin-sized hole in this offense admirably. That catch is crazy. Dan Quinn's defense, they got to play close attention to where Jalen is at all times. Way to go, rookie. Step up and be the disruptor. Send the Manders, send him packing, send him home. Jalen is 1 plus 175 to score a touchdown. Hamilton plus 175. We like that.
I do. He is on an unbelievable run right now. And as you said, I think if Lattimore is hanging out with Evans a bunch, there are opportunities against this pass defense to make some plays.
I think Bucky Irving scores a touchdown.
He probably will too. I think his odds are really good to get in the end zone. I think he is the heaviest favorite to score a touchdown in that entire game. Hold on. Yep, he's minus 145.
Really?
Which is ahead of even Mike Evans. Yep.
There's a lot of wrestling chat going on in the YouTube comments. What are we doing here, guys? What are we doing?
This is a wrestling show now. It's on you.
I literally just peeked over while you were talking, and I just thought Chris Jericho. Isn't that
Oh boy.
Is he still around? Is that bad?
That goes way back, right?
That's like 8th grade, I feel like. There was a boy in my 8th grade class that had a T-shirt of him. I remember. The dab is acceptable. Listen, if Cam Newton's back, the dab is back. Okay, he's on screen everywhere, podcast, television, doing his thing. The dab also returneth to the world. And finally, in the Monday Nighter, I'm keeping an eye on the NFL's active leader in interceptions, Harrison Smith. Active leader. Why? Because no defender knows Matthew Stafford better than this Vikings captain. This is the 20th meeting. This is OG stuff, okay? Unbelievable. They obviously faced each other a lot in their NFC North days. This is the first time they'll see each other in the playoffs. How fun is that? Harrison's Vikings. That's right, Harrison's Vikings. They're 11-8 against Stafford overall. Smith has 130 tackles, 9 PBUs, and 2 picks in those games. The Rams offense did get the best of Minnie when they met in the regular season, when they have, okay? And if the Vikings are gonna win this rematch, we gotta see a big play from this OG. And if you like to dabble, and I think you should dabble, Harrison Smith is plus 600 to get an interception off of Stafford in this one. Jericho. I don't know. You know what's scary? Can I tell you real quick before we go to break? Let's go to break. Let's go to break. We've got Luke Kuechly on the show. We've got Richard Sherman on the show. We've got your K-makers. That's right. Romeo Doubs, Jalen McMillan, and Harrison Smith are going to be the disruptors in Wild Card Weekend. We'll get Kuechly's thoughts next. I feel like you wanted to do McMillan just to annoy me about Bucky Irving. Just to not pick him. I mean, I'm not dumb. Yes, it is. That's exactly why.
Not everything's about torturing you.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. The scary thing about wrestling stuff is that it's such an unknown that, I don't know what's acceptable. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't know who's
Give me an example. What do you
I know,
who the villains are
in my lane who I can talk about and who not to say. I like him. He's cool. I got, Chris Jericho, for all I know, could be, up to no good. In the real, I don't know what's going on. But,
True.
So it's hard to, literally in reading that name, I was like, ugh. Just saying.
That was a sick dad.
There's a lot going on.
Oh, Conrad said my dad was sick.
That was.
Thank you.
More TV dabs.
We need more TV dabs.
Did we ever?
I really think in this time of such calamity, more TV dabs. It's just the ticket.
I don't know if did we ever see Luke Kuechly dab during that whole run in 2015? We obviously saw a lot of Cam Newton ones.
Luke
I
Kuechly,
don't know
did
if we
you
saw
ever
one from
dab?
Luke.
Luke, have you ever dabbed in that 2015 MVP Superman run? Did you ever hit the dab?
I think there's a picture in the NFC Championship game at the end of the game, and everybody's dabbing. See if I can.
So you like
See if I can-
begrudgingly dab just to be a team guy?
I had to be a team guy, you know. That picture is super cool though. The scoreboards in the background. It's a really neat picture.
Oh, I see.
We gotta dig this up.
I might just be smiling in the back though.
Hold on. I see one, but it's not everybody, right? It's just the.
Let me see if I can find it.
I have it. I don't know why we're talking about it. I just dabbed out of nowhere. It's fine. And for Bucky Irving, a division opponent of yours.
It needs to come back.
You're not.
I'm
You're
probably
not
cheesing in the
dabbing
back.
Bringing it
one.
back
No,
right
I don't.
here.
I have one from January 17th, 2016. That might be it.
That might.
Yeah, that was,
No, there was one the following. So that was Arizona. We played them in the playoffs at home. And the next year we played Arizona in the championship game.
Nobody's dabbing. Oh, here it is. It's against the Cardinals.
Let me see if I can find it here.
You're not dabbing in this photo. Kuechly, you're just in the background.
I'm in the background just
You're not
hanging.
even facing. You're not a team player at all. This is gonna keep you out of your first.
Some Luke chants here in the stadium.
Kuechly, you are beautiful. That man's a tackling machine. Luke Kuechly, what more can you do?
My next guest, 5-time first-team All-Pro linebacker, Panthers radio analyst, smartest man in the business, and future Hall of Famer, Luke Kuechly. Luke, we got Richard Sherman coming on the show. I got 2 defensive studs. How lucky am I?
Hey, Sherm is a stud, and I almost went to Stanford, where Sherm was from. So I met Sherm a long time ago in the recruiting trail, getting ready to go to college. So he obviously had a great career. I'm excited to talk to him.
What was that trip like? Give me like the highlights. What's the one thing you remember?
Jim Harbaugh. That's what I remember. Jim Harbaugh he was a coach out there at Stanford, and he was all football all the time. I really wanted to go to Stanford. I got taken around by a kid that I went to high school with. His name was Fred Craig. Fred was what everybody wanted to be when I was in high school. He played the same position I did. He was a stud. He went to Stanford. He showed me around, and I got a little bit scared how far away it was. I was like, man, my family needs to get on a plane to come out here. It felt so far away. And going to BC, they had all the East Coast games. So, Wake and Duke and Chapel Hill and Virginia, and those were all drivable games for my family. So it just felt very far away.
That is the sweetest thing I have ever heard. How do you continue to outdo yourself? You don't want to be that far from home.
Hey, it was a long way. I mean, that was the first time I think I'd been to California. I'd never been out that far. And I was like, you know what? I would love for my family to come. And there's no way they're driving to any Pac-10, Pac-12 games. So BC was a lot more comfortable for a lot of other reasons as well.
Say what the real reason was. I mean, Harbaugh's pitch was not strong enough.
I'll tell you what, you talk about a recruiter, that guy can recruit. He is
I don't know, can he?
His offense. Oh, he can. He is. I love Jim Harbaugh. So I obviously didn't go to Stanford, went to Boston College, saw Harbaugh at the Combine. This was, I guess it would have been 4 years later, 3 or 4 years later, whatever it was. And Harbaugh was at Stanford for, I don't know, 2 years when I was in college, and then he went to San Francisco. So when I was coming out for the draft, he was at San Francisco. So I'm walking through the hotel in Indianapolis. I got an interview with Harbaugh, one of those nightly interviews. Mm-hmm. And he's like, hey, you broke my heart. You didn't come to Stanford. And he's cheesing. And I said, Coach, you know what? I loved it out there. But you would have broke my heart too, because you would have been there for 2 years and left for San Francisco. And he started laughing. So he loves a little competitive flair, but he's a good dude. He can recruit, and he's got his team in the playoffs after they won 5 games last year. So
I know.
he's done a good job.
It's unbelievable. Let's dig into some of that. Let's start with the Packers. I love how you say, one of those nightly interviews. I don't know what you're talking about. Do I look like a linebacker to you running around in my underwear at the Combine? Absolutely not. Let's start with the Packers. Eagles on Sunday. Vic Fangio Let's take a look at Look at this. Oh, my gosh. He has this Eagles defense playing lights out all season long. We all know that. Second points per game, first in yards. Can you take me into the Luke Kuechly weeds from a linebacker's perspective on how sort of Vic is going to unleash Zach Bond to create problems for Green Bay?
Well, yeah, I mean, he's had a heck of a season, and I think he's finally getting used in a way that utilizes his best traits. But I think what he does really well is that they can move Zach Bond around. They can put him on the line of scrimmage, like right here. They put him on the line. It's a 5-man look, and then he drops in coverage. And then the next play, without substituting any personnel, they can go traditional 4-down spacing. And then again, now they go 5 down, and Zach Bond comes off the edge. So the ability for them to go a 5-man front without having to substitute another big 5th guy in, it just keeps offenses on the edge of their seat. Is it going to be 4 down? Is it going to be 5 down? Is he going to come off the edge? Is he going to drop in coverage? It gives them so much flexibility. And it's not like they're not losing anything with putting him on the line of scrimmage, because he's great on the line of scrimmage. And then, they can rotate Blankenship down or Gardner Johnson down with Nakobe Dean. They have a really good opportunity to just show multiple looks, and they're not giving up anything by him being off the ball or him being on the ball, because those safeties have such a great feel. And I love it when guys like him, they get drafted high. Mm-hmm. They're in New Orleans. They just they haven't found what they're good at. And then boom, he spends his first year in Philadelphia, and the dude's balling. So it's super cool to see when guys get the opportunity to do what they do best.
He's like the king of the forced fumble this year. It's unbelievable.
He's a stud.
Yeah, he's a stud. He's a game breaker.
He's really good.
How does this go? Darren Sproles came on my show. I think he's a stud.
Oh, I love him.
I know, I love him.
Oh, he's the
crazy.
best.
So he came on, and of course, like, he's a Philly guy. So he's a wee guy like you are with the Panthers. And he goes, we're going to blow them out. That's what he said. Like, the Eagles it's not even going to be close. Eagles are 4.5-point faves here. Who do you like in this one?
I still like the Eagles, their ability to run the ball. They're playing great on the defensive side. I think Vic Fangio and that defense have just been presenting people so many issues. And you talk about once games get late in the season, especially in the playoffs at home, it's going to be cold. The run game in your defense helps you win football games, and then slinging it to A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith is pretty good as well. So I like the Eagles. They're at home. They're playing really good football right now. They're rested. After last week, I think they're in a good position to put their best foot forward this weekend.
Vikings-Rams are Monday night. This is a game that we've seen before, not like in the first day. It was week 8, middle of the season, so it feels like we know what these teams were back then. 30-20 was the score on Thursday Night Football. What are you looking at in round 2 in this one? In L.A., you've got those stud pass rushers, these young boys getting after it. What do you think?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that Minnesota knows that Cooper Kupp's playing. The first game came around, and he was a late add to get the injury kind of going in. They didn't know if he was going to play or not, so obviously that affects how they game plan. And he didn't have a huge game that first time around, like 50 yards. But what it does is it takes so much more pressure off Puka Nacua. I'm sure Flores and that defense were, hey, when you stop the run, we need to take Puka away. Boom. So then now Cooper Kupp's a late add. Now how does that affect your defense? It's just this time around, they're going to have a way better feel for who's going to be in the game. So I think Minnesota's defense has a good feel. And then I think Minnesota's offense, obviously the Rams have played really well, weeks 15, 16, 17, 18, they didn't really play anybody. They've been playing really well on the defensive side of the ball. And, you're going to nitpick the Rams a little bit. The last 2 losses they have, I think they've been 2 for 8 in the red zone. So they need to, when they get in the red zone, they need to score points, but it's going to be a good matchup. It's a team that's seasoned in the playoffs with, the Rams and Stafford and that offense. And then, Sam Darnold's first crack as a starting quarterback in the playoffs. I'm sure he's super excited. It's going to be a good matchup.
I'm just looking at Sam. Are you a pressure guy? Does he melt in the moment?
For this.
You think he lives for this?
You look.
And explain last week. Explain last week to me.
Hey, I thought they played well. They didn't convert in the red zone. They didn't convert in the red zone.
Yeah, like 1 for 8 or something.
Yeah, they struggled. But you know what? That was as close to a playoff game as they're going to get. So,
right. So that makes me nervous.
Hey, he got a good warm up. He got a good warm up last week. Obviously, in San Francisco last year, with the Niners, obviously going to the Super Bowl. I think all year people have been looking for reasons why Sam can't do it. And I think people should start looking at why he can do it.
Why can he do it? Why can he do it in a big game? This is the indictment. We need to see him do it in a big game. You don't think that that's fair?
I think it's fair. I just think to say that he hasn't done it, I think is unfair because he hasn't had the opportunity to do it. To say that we need to see him do it in a big game, I think is fair. But
tell me what went wrong last week that wasn't about. I mean, there was some play calling that was a little funky too. That was a little like nervous. But last week we were playing for the 1 seed, Luke, in the whole thing. Yeah. It's a playoff game.
It's a playoff game.
So he has had the chance to play in a big game. That was it.
Yeah.
But it's not enough.
Yeah, I think you got to wait until it's truly the playoffs. He got a good one last week in a big atmosphere, but I think for Sam, I think it's more of look what he's done this year, look what he's been through, look how he's taken that team to the next level. They won 14 games.
Yes.
And
yes.
I think that should be the story. I think too much people look for why not rather than why this guy's had a great year and really elevated that team. You know, they draft JJ McCarthy. It's a quarterback battle. JJ gets hurt. Oh, now it's Sam. Can Sam do it? And then all he does is go out and sling it around, and he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. So, I mean, I'm excited for him. He has to be excited. You know, he's been hearing, can Sam do it? He hasn't shown he can do it. Now he gets his
you know
opportunity.
him. Luke, you know him.
Him.
Tell me, you know him, you love him. I think the team, I mean, they love him. They trust him. They trust him.
Yeah.
People don't. How does the hearing that, I guess I'm looking for more of a Luke Kuechly and Sam Darnold, like the connective tissue of you two knowing each other. Why do you believe in him so?
You know, he hasn't had the playoffs. He's never been in, so that you can't count that. But I just think, you know, he was in with the New York Jets. That was obviously it was a difficult situation there. Then he comes to Carolina. It's him and Baker. They're playing a difficult situation. And then he goes out to San Francisco and sits behind Purdy for a year. And then he comes in. They sign him in free agency, and then they go draft a guy in the first round. And then the first round pick gets hurt, and then they say the only reason you won the job is because the guy got hurt. And to me, it's always why not instead of why. So, I mean, what he's been through, what he's battled through, and then this year when he's truly gotten an opportunity with a good team, a good coach, a stable atmosphere, all he's done is play great football. And to me, he's never had the opportunity to play in the playoffs, and he's going to get it this year. And I think he's excited. I'm excited for him, and he deserves it. I want
it so badly for him.
Yeah.
Like it would be such an, you're not going to like such an FU to so many levels of things. And I think he's a mentally tough person. Beyond, and it's been fun. It's been such an easy thing to root for, and I want it for Sam. We have a matchup between two legendary linebackers on Sunday night, Bobby Wagner, Levante David. This is part 6, dude, between these guys. You know him, you love him. Devante's done his thing with Tampa his whole career, year 1 for Bobby in Washington. Who has the bigger impact in Commanders-Bucks on Sunday? Tough question for you.
I think it's Bobby. I mean, not to take anything away from Levante, but he's been on the same team his whole career. His longevity is unbelievable. I could say a million nice things about Levante, but I think the reason I'm going to go with Bobby is Dan Quinn comes in. It's a completely different defense. Dan Quinn needs somebody to lean on when he gets there to talk about, hey, this is how we do things. This is what we want. And then Bobby comes in, and he's that guy, a veteran presence. That's a Hall of Famer that people will listen to, and he's the go-between the players and the coaches. So that's number one. He's still playing at a high level. But the two guys they brought in free agency that were both with Carolina last year that I love, Frankie Louvu and then Jeremy Chin. Both those guys are having career years, and I think, you know, Frankie's got 8 sacks this year. His ability to line up kind of all over the place, like Zach Bond a little bit. And then when you get to learn a new defense, it's great to learn it from a great coach, but it's also really good to learn it right next to a guy that's been in that system before and performed at a high level. So Frankie's ability to come in and learn and be around Bobby and ask Bobby questions. And Bobby's super comfortable in the defense. It's not like it's two new guys in defense. It's one new guy in the defense with, Bobby Wagner. And then Jeremy Chin just fits that defense so well. And Bobby's like, hey, Jeremy, look, I played in Seattle for a long time with a guy named Cam Chancellor. I don't know if you've heard of him, but you and him are very similar. Like just his ability to connect with these guys and talk about prior experiences. And hey, Jeremy, you mimic what Cam Chancellor kind of was in this defense. And it's just, I think if you talked with those guys in Seattle and you talked with KJ Wright in Seattle, who Bobby played with and next to, he's a stud. So
Bobby's teammate Richard Sherman joining the show in a little bit. Maybe he's listening to us give him all of the love, which we always do. And Frankie Louvu, like unheralded, underrated, best name in the National Football League. Frankie freaking Louvu. Just the name. Frankie Louvu. I want the jersey. He's super passionate. He wants it. It's his first playoff game.
Yeah. He deserves it. I mean, I love you talk about guys that you want to play with just based on their energy and their love for the game and their smile. Like Frankie's got all of that. Just he's a good dude. He's always smiling. He has fun playing football. It matters to him. Like those are the guys that you want to build your team around. And if Frankie was not Frankie Louvu on the field skill wise, but he was a little bit less than that. And if he was, if he only played special teams, I would want guys like Frankie on my team 100% of the time.
I like your point about the osmosis from Bobby Wagner, just being around him, seeing how he works, a future Hall of Famer. I mean, they were the worst total defense last year, the worst. In fantasy, you were starting everybody against them. Now they're 13th this season because of guys like that, named alternates to the Pro Bowl, by the way, Chin and Frankie Louvu. Okay, in the AFC, it's Broncos, Bills, Sean Payton and Sean McDermott. Okay, we've got a battle of Seans here. They were division rivals for years. Head coach of the Saints, of course, Mr. Payton, defensive coordinator for your Panthers. What's that dynamic?
Obviously, it's ultra competitive. And, when I was playing in Carolina, that's when Sean Payton and Drew were setting all those records, slinging it around in the dome. They were a real problem to stop. So for us, those were games that we always had circled, especially the games down there in New Orleans where like it's a division game against a team that scores a ton of points that are hard to stop, that the competitive vibe is there. And it was a coach that was there the whole time I was playing. It's kind of pretty much same with Sean. It's not like it was another team where you have 3 or 4 coordinators and you don't develop that real rivalry against him. So I guess kind of what I'm getting at is the offense in Denver has changed a little bit with Bo Nix. Bo can run and they do some more RPOs and his feet matter a little bit more. But the bones of that offense are a little bit different. So like these clips right here, this is what is different because Bo's in there. The ability to run the ball. Drew's not doing this, right? The ability to run the ball.
Yeah, he's not doing that.
And the RPO is changed. But Panthers played the Broncos this year, so I got to watch them. And it is very similar. So they have a fullback, which Sean always loved. Adam Troutman, the tight end, came from New Orleans. They have little Jordan Humphreys, which is like that big wide receiver that you don't know. Do you treat him as a tight end? Do you treat him as a wide receiver? And then, they have, Cortland Sutton, big physical player. They have some little smaller backs that are in the Darren Sproles, category. But when you watch that offense, very similar to when you watch the defense with Sean up there in Buffalo, the bones are still there. So those guys know each other extremely well, and it'll be a fun matchup, Broncos offense versus the Bills defense.
Sounds like they don't like each other.
Hey, it's competitive football, of course.
That's what I'm hearing. They're not super Sean McDermott's friendly to everybody, but it sounds like they want to get one over on each other. Who has the edge?
I'm going to go Bills. They're at home and they have the best player in the NFL. So I'm going to give him with Josh. He is so good this year.
So there's that. Do you think you should? Yeah, we'll see if he's the MVP. Lamar's numbers. We've got everything going on. Let's move on to the weekly Kuechly. Not for the meekly, probably pretty geekly moment of genius. Luke Kuechly. 4, my friend. Read it and weave. 4 of the 6 wildcard games are rematches we've already seen earlier this season. You, sick pup that you are, went and watched the tape. Show me a play that is going to make me smarter heading into wildcard weekend.
Yeah, so this can go all the way back to Brazil, week 1, Eagles.
Oh, wow.
Day, obviously the matchup here, and this is right after halftime. So it's AJ Brown on Jair Alexander. He's running a quick out, and I'm sure that was getting jumped a lot early in the game in the first half. Jair Alexander's an aggressive corner, jumping quick out. So basically what they said is, hey, we're going to do a quick double move. AJ, you're going to run the out. We're going to pump, and you're going to take it vertical. Obviously, great throw by Jalen Hurts, really poor angle by the safety, and A.J. Brown cuts it back, and huge play to start the second half. So it's good halftime adjustments by Sirianni and that offense, and finding ways to get your best players the football and let them run after the catch.
A.J. Brown had 119 yards in that game. Cannot wait to see what happens. Before you go, a lot what's going on, of course, there's wild card weekend, but there's the coaching ups and downs, too. Like we're talking about the Seans, right? Sean McDermott goes on, has great success after working with you, and then now he's a head coach with the best player, getting the most out of that player, juggling all the crazy stuff that it takes to be a head coach. Now, there's other coordinators, like the bells of the balls here. Ben Johnson, he's got requests from everybody. Spags is getting requests from the Jets and Raiders this week. The question I want to ask is, like, when I hear these coordinators getting their first thing, even Spags as a head coach, not successful, but as a coordinator, kills it anywhere he goes. Like, what is important to look at as a player of your caliber when it came to those skills from being a coordinator translating into being the head guy in charge of culture and so on?
I think the biggest thing is can they speak to the room? If you're a coordinator on one side of the ball, you're just, you're on one side of the ball, you're worrying about, 25 guys versus you're the head coach, you're speaking to the whole team, you're in charge of both coordinators and special teams coordinator. It's more of a CEO role where you're running the team. And I think the biggest thing that's important is just situational fit for these coaches. You look at, Ben Johnson, he's had interviews the last couple of years, and from what we're hearing from everybody is it just hasn't been the right fit for him. He's in a good situation in Detroit and it hasn't been the right fit for him. So I think, a guy like Spags, where he ended up, it just wasn't a good situation. You talked about Sean McDermott. He goes up to Buffalo, they draft Josh Allen, and, you get one of the best players in the NFL in the draft. And I think a lot of it for these guys is less about can they coach football, less about can they command a room, and more about is it the right situation and do they have, the opportunity to succeed wherever they end up.
If you look at Gerard Mayo, and he's somebody I think that can talk to a room.
Yeah.
And he's one and done, and then it's just, there's obviously like a lot working against or for certain coordinators in certain positions, but Ben Johnson, like, this is the belle of the ball. This is the top name. He's getting interviews from everybody wants him. What does that mean for the Lions if he leaves? Like, sure, they might go win the Super Bowl. It might all be great, but he's just the hottest name. He had his paws all over every play that they ran this year.
Well, he's been on all of our picks of best plays for the week a couple times this year, and I think it's really, what does Dan Campbell do with the void left by Ben or Aaron Glenn if they leave? Does he promote from within? Guys like, Mark Brunell are on that staff. Does he go out and get somebody? You have to imagine if you're Dan Campbell, you've already thought a lot about this, but it's, you look at, what happened in Philadelphia a couple years ago with Sirianni, and they lost Shane Steichen and Jonathan Gannon in the same year. And then they struggled a little bit at the end of last year. And then now they're back the 2 seed in the playoffs. So it can be done. I just think a lot of the onus goes on the Dan Campbell and, that front office to go out and figure out what is the best person for this open spot if those guys do in fact leave.
Where do you think Johnson should go? What's the best fit for his talent?
Oh, man. I look at Chicago, and you got a young, talented quarterback on a rookie deal. You've got a good running back. You have a big tight end like they have in, Detroit with Laporta and Cole Kmet. And then, you have the rookie Odunze and DJ Moore and Swift in the backfield. So
you're going to have him go up against the Lions for 2 years in the tough division.
Wouldn't that be interesting?
I don't know that it would be interesting for me if I was Ben. I might, if I'm like,
Yeah.
you know, happy where I am, win a couple rings, be maybe the first assistant coach in the Hall of Fame when those rules change. Like, I don't know. Like, he could do the Spags thing for a while as the OC there. To go to Chicago. I don't know that I would find head coach of Chicago more appealing than offensive coordinator working under Dan Campbell on a contender for the next couple of years. I don't know. More importantly,
that's up to him.
More importantly, when are you going to be ready to throw your hat in the ring here?
You already know the answer to that. We've got off-season training activities coming up for our Charlotte Christian football team here in the spring.
That's not.
We gotta go. We got work to do. So.
That's not okay. We're gonna take a short break here. We will be back. You're staying through the break, though. Hopefully, we're getting Richard Sherman on. I hope he's being very elusive. He's lurking somewhere. We're gonna try to grab him on the show, but we will be back after the beat. Frankie Louvu, great name.
Great name, great
guy.
Great
name, great guy.
Good tattoos, really good tattoos.
What's going on with the Panthers? Vibes are high, it sounds like.
The vibes are high. Bryce played really well at the end of the year. He's smiling. He's having fun. He's got a little spunk and attitude to him. We're largely healthy on the offensive side of the ball at important positions going into the offseason, with, both our tackles, both our guards. Bryce is healthy. Chuba missed a few games, but he's fine.
What's the lesson, though? Like, because you think, like, oh, was this the right move to bench him? And then you're throwing him in there. Like, the lesson is, like, yeah, it was the right move, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it verifies what Canales did was the right decision, especially at the time. We were struggling. Bryce was struggling. I think there's a lot of frustration, and I think Andy was the better option for that time in the season. And then Andy goes in, plays really well, and unfortunately got dinged. And Bryce came back in and was like a new dude the second half of the season.
Love that.
So.
Are we getting Richard Sherman now, guys? Go ahead. They're looking for him, Luke. No, I think we can. Well, I would love for Luke and Richard to get to say hello to one another. If Luke is so wonderful and patient. He'll wait a couple minutes, maybe. What did you say? I'm so sorry. Okay. Great. Why don't can we do the hunches with Luke? Let's just do that. K-makers to hunches with Luke. I'll do them with him. Okay. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Where's Sherman? I don't know, guys. What are you doing anything fun in the off season, Luke?
Okay. Oh, am I doing anything fun in the off season?
Yeah.
Getting ready for youth football. We got to start. I actually saw Greg the other day, and we were already talking about it. What do we got to do better? What our defense is going to look like going into this season?
I want you to know that in like 20 years, Hamilton, are you here? In like 20 years, we're going to look back and we're going to say, wow, this. Time for K-makers. Welcome back to Up and Adams. Today I'm going to hit you with my anytime touchdown scorers for each game that plays on Saturday in Chargers-Texans. Give me Quentin Johnson. We have Ladd McConkey on the show tomorrow, but we had Quentin on a couple weeks ago. What a freaking game he had. With a thigh injury, mind you. 186 yards. I think Stingley is going to be hanging out with Ladd, doing their thing over there, and so this playmaker under the bright lights last week is going to go off against the Texan secondary that is dealing with a bunch of injuries. Texan side, I don't know if Luke Kuechly is going to like this, but I'm going to go Deontay Johnson, okay? Plus 750. He got some reps in Week 18. D'Amico says we're going to feed him. That's all this man wants is to be fed. Feed him in the playoffs. They are low on receiving options, by the way. So if you're shooting for the moon, and you should maybe have a little fun, entertaining, responsibly, of course, go ahead and do that. Take a chance. How about Isaiah Likely? Zay Flowers dealing with an injury. If he can't go, we're going to see both of them out there, him and Mark, okay? And he has scored 3 times in the last 5 games. Even with Zay out there, I think he gets the ball a lot. And the Steelers side, oh my gosh, pow, pow, pow. George Pickens? Let's do it. Go Balls, go Balls. Plus 210, season's on the line, right? He's gonna get fed billions of opportunities to score. I don't wanna go to Hunch time just yet, but I do wanna bring in Hamilton. Hamilton, here's my thought. I just wanna finish my thought. With Luke Kuechly. I feel like in 20 years, we're going to look back at the, how the hell do I not know the school by now? The Christian...
Charlotte Christian Middle School?
It's not it's just called the Christian Middle School. What is the name?
Charlotte Christian Middle School.
Charlotte Christian Middle School. It's going to be like Gotham Chopra is going to be doing some sort of like retrospective on how all of those kids are all pros. Because they literally had Greg Olson and Luke Kuechly scheming up things on napkins at Christian McCaffrey's wedding to like teach them the ways of the Force. Like they've got Yoda and Anakin, it's not Anakin, Luke, just like doing their thing for them. Like these kids how good are these kids, Luke?
The kids are awesome. We just have to put them in position to have success. That's the biggest thing, is let them go out and play. The kids are tough. They work hard. We didn't have a single kid quit this year. Some of the kids play a lot. Some of the kids don't play a lot. They show up to every practice. We have great kids, and that makes it so much more fun when they want to be there and they want to have fun and they want to be part of the team. So
how old are these kids?
7th and 8th grade.
Oh, that's like a dicey. That is a wild age. I bet you that's wild, Luke.
Well, it's good. I'll tell you what, Greg and his dad do a really good job, and they set the tone, and they're great with the kids, and the kids all love Greg and his dad, and I think a lot of credit goes to them. But then Stu and Todd Blackledge and I just get to kind of hang out and put our hands on it a little bit. But Greg and his dad do a fantastic job, and we're very lucky to have those two guys.
Yeah, it's going to be like a couple, like 8 years from now. It's going to be like it was a couple of years ago, where like every other first-round pick was from the University of Georgia. Mm-hmm. Every other first-round pick is going to be from Charlotte Christian Middle School.
Charlotte Christian Middle School. I thought they were younger. I was very much picturing like Luke Kuechly coming in and it being like Kindergarten Cop. You know what I'm saying? Like I very much was picturing like somebody being like, I have to go to the bathroom. I have to whatever. Yeah, like just like absolute chaos. But I didn't realize they were a little bit older than that. Do they understand who you are?
I think most of them, they're starting to kind of age out a little bit, where some of the younger kids probably don't, because I mean, Greg and I've been out for, 5 years, and some of these kids might not know who we are. We're just a bunch of guys over at the middle school coaching football.
Love that. And let's do some hunches, Hamilton. Let's get this going. Woohoo!
All right, let's do it. We're going with some hunches for the Sunday games. We're going to start with Bills-Broncos. Josh Allen's line for rushing yards is 40.5. So, Luke, I'll start with you. What's your hunch? Over under 40.5 rushing yards for Josh?
I think he's going way over that. I think with that pass rush that they have in Denver, the pocket's going to break down a few more times than it typically would in a normal game, and he's going to pull the ball down and tuck it and use his legs to go get a couple first downs.
I agree, and here's some numbers to back up that instinct here. He's averaged over 70 yards a game on the ground in the playoffs last year, 56 in his last 10 career postseason games. So I think they're going to lean on his legs a little bit more in these big games. So I think that keeps going. We're on the same page.
All right, we're going to move to Packers-Eagles now. A.J. Brown's line for receiving yards is 87.5. So, Kay, I'll start with you. What's your hunch here? Over or under?
I don't know. Their run defense is better than their pass defense. So I'm thinking, I don't know. I'm going to have Luco. I like to co-sign.
I'm gonna go under. I think first time they played, if you take away that long touchdown pass, he's got a pretty normal game. Plus, I think Saquon's gonna have a big game. I think Devontae Smith will have a big game. I'm gonna take the under and say that if they're gonna win this game, it's gonna be relying on the run game and a couple big third down catches, but he's not gonna get to 87.5.
What's the last one? I co-sign that. Go for it. Nobody wants to hear from me.
All right,
Everyone just wants Luke's picks anyway. Go for it.
All right, so Luke, we're going with you. The Sunday Nighter. I want your first touchdown scorer for Commanders Bucks.
Bucky Irving is such an easy answer, but I love Terry McLaurin, and I'm going to give my first touchdown to Terry McLaurin. First drive, they need to feed that guy the ball. He's a really good player, and he's got a quarterback that's going to be there for a long time with him in Jaden. So I'm going to take Terry McLaurin.
There you have it, Wild Card Weekend hunches. We're going to take a break, but first, let's say hello. Hamilton, get out of here. We found Richard Sherman. Richard Sherman, who recruited Luke Kuechly, and clearly the pitch wasn't good enough because he didn't end up going to Stanford with you and Harbaugh.
Yeah. Luke clearly didn't care for my pitch, but, it's all good.
He's got his Stanford hat on and everything. He's ready to go.
Go Cardinal.
Richard,
always rep.
Great. So great to see you. This is such an honor. This is like an insane, you two run the world. Like offenses are like having a nightmare right now from, 2000 whatever till right now. I do want to know, Luke, if you could just indulge me with your favorite Richard Sherman career moment.
I think you think about Sherm and that defense. Sherm would probably agree that they made a lot of money playing cover 3 and relying on that pass rush and overlapping on seam balls and picking balls off. So I think there's a play against the Rams you had. I don't know exactly what year this was, but end of the game, you need closers.
2012.
You're playing cover 3. You understand what's going on. You're going to play in between 1 and 2, and they throw that seam ball, and you're going to go pick it. And I'm sure you've done that a million times, but when I think about your guys' defense in that time period, cover 3, you guys running around, you on one side, Earl in the middle, Cam Chancellor hitting dudes, and then Cliff and that defense and Michael Bennett rushing off the edge and making quarterbacks throw the ball. So I think it's a good representation of you guys in your career.
I appreciate that. Yeah. That was a great one. Good old Sam Bradford. We called game that time.
Poor Sam Bradford. He's getting strays this morning. He didn't want that. It was week 17, 2012. Not in the Edward Jones Dome. I would have loved to see that. Sherman was 5-2. I have all time against Kuechly. 5-2. Wow, Luke.
Come on. You got me.
Hey, well, he wasn't playing on that side.
That's fair.
He wasn't having to deal with it.
Okay, we're gonna say bye to you, Luke. I loved seeing you. Thank you for hanging out. We will be back on the TV side with Richard Sherman in 1 minute. All right, bye, Luke. We'll be back with Richard in like 1 second. Hamilton, why did he pick that play, I wonder, of all the plays, of all the Sherm plays?
I think just seeing like the instincts, the smarts, how he gets over there and undercuts that one. And it's wild. Just looking back in the year, too. 8 interceptions, 24 pass breakups, which led the league for Sherman. That was the year.
Is wild.
Absolutely insane. That was his first team All-Pro year, too. So I think, like, I'm guessing that's probably why he went back to it, too, because that was the year, like, Sherman just took the league by storm.
Mm-hmm. Do we have a Bobby Wagner question in here? Oh. He didn't get a Pro Bowl that year?
That's wild.
I mean, he has 5.
Yeah.
He has 5 All-Pros, too, right?
But he's got 3 first-team All-Pros, and then 2 second teams.
Okay, 5. We're saying 5.
Yeah, so 5. We're saying 5, yeah.
Intercepted, Richard Sherman.
Behold, as I unfold something phenomenal.
Richard Sherman. That is a touchdown. Richard Sherman again.
Here he is, 5-time Pro Bowler, 5-time All-Pro Super Bowl champion, and amazing superstar analyst for Thursday Night Football on Prime Video, host of the Richard Sherman podcast. Richard Sherman, you weren't a Pro Bowler for that 2012 8 interception, 24 PBU season?
Yeah, I said, yeah, it's one of those things. It's one of those deals. Yeah, you get 8 picks, 24 PBUs, and they say no Pro Bowl, but, it was all pro, and that's what matters in this league.
Yeah, and it's giving me Kirby Joseph 2024. Not
a
Pro Bowler, maybe an All-Pro.
I cannot believe that. Oh, that was sick. That's sick. It's silly because I don't know how they pick it. I don't know how you leave him out of it.
I think it's voting. How about All-Pro? Should make the case for Kirby Joseph to be an All-Pro.
Oh, no question. No question. I mean, because the picks matter. Obviously, you know, there are guys playing a high-level football at every level, but you get 9 interceptions in the National Football League. You got to go over the water. Well, it's not over the water anymore. It's in Orlando, I guess. But you got to be an all-pro. You got to be. He's one of the best at his positions. Obviously, Xavier McKinney in Green Bay is also in that. You got a case, but I don't think you leave him out. If they do, I mean, I don't know how you're voting for these things.
I love that you have your own platform. I love seeing you under the bright lights of a primetime game, but I miss you on the field, Sherman, I got to say.
I appreciate that. I made my point on that field. I'm comfortable where I am now. Look, I got nothing else to prove. People all the time like, hey, come back, you know, unretire. I said, I don't got nothing for them receivers no more. Look, I've been stressed long enough. I'm done being stressed. I get to talk the game now.
Richard, you saying I proved my point on the field it's so real. It's so true. You did several times, several exclamation points out there whenever you're on the field. I missed obviously the game breaking, the instinct, everything that you brought to it. But I like this. I like it. And we have that a little bit with Commanders cornerback Marshawn Lattimore and Bucks wideout Mike Evans. We know maybe they respect each other. They do not like one another. And I love that about them. And you know a thing or two about that. How big of an impact will the history make on the game this Sunday?
Oh, it's going to make an impact, you know, and I'm sure they're going to have Lattimore follow him. Because obviously Mike is a huge target. You know, he's a huge part of their offense. But yeah, they got real history. I think in New Orleans it was even bigger just because the teams understood it. The teams had conflict. You know what I mean? So it went further than just Mike and Lattimore. It went through the whole team. But I think the Commanders will back him up. You know, even though he's only been there for a little while, and he's going to continue to be him. He's going to continue to try to get under Mike's skin, and Mike's going to continue to feel a way about him. So I can't wait to watch it. That's one of my favorite matchups.
Who gets the best of who? Marshawn coming off a little bit of an injury. Who gets the best of who?
I don't know. I mean, Marshawn's had a lot of good games against Mike, you know, but Mike's in a zone right now. And Baker's going to feed him, and I'm sure Baker knows the history, and Baker's petty in that way, and I like that about them. So I think Mike will have more opportunities to go after.
Do you like a petty quarterback?
Yeah, I do. I like a petty everything. I'm here for pettiness.
I love it. You're prepping for Amazon's first wild card playoff game, Ravens Steelers. That'll be so amazing. It's Saturday night. This, you know. Momentum? Does it matter? I don't know. The Steelers have lost 4 in a row heading into this one. Fans are saying, give us Justin Fields. Give us a spark. Is that the answer?
Yeah. That's crazy. That's crazy because, you know, fans kind of ride the wave of a season. And when Tomlin first went from Justin Fields to Russell Wilson, I was like, you know, I don't know if you move off the hot hand, but obviously for a long time, and Mike's been a great coach for a very long time. He knows a lot more than I do, and it worked out. You know, they played really well. They didn't play the best teams, but they did beat this Baltimore Ravens team when that Ravens defense was last in pass defense and, you know, not playing as well as they are now. And since they have made the changes that they have at safety, a few changes at corner, and a few rotational changes at linebacker, they have played entirely different football. You know, Kyle Hamilton playing safety exclusively. Marlon Humphreys is in the slot a lot more, and Ardarius Washington at the safety spot is playing really well. I don't know if it's the time to move to Justin Fields. Russell's got enough playoff experience. You know, he got to protect the ball. They got to run it well. It's not just the quarterback position that's holding them back. Their defense got to play better, and they got to stop 2 guys that are very difficult to stop, and Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. So, you know, it's easier than just, switch quarterbacks and that's going to solve everything. That's not really correct.
What does it do to Russell, you think, hearing all that?
I don't think it does anything to him. I think he's played in the league long enough to know that, you know, you treat the 2 imposters the same. You know, when they're praising him and telling him he's the best in the world, I don't think he's listening and reading all that. And I don't think when they tell him, hey, they're trying to replace him if he's reading all that. I think he's a pro, and he's going to approach the game the same way, and he's going to go out there and try to execute.
The Ravens defense, what a turnaround, right? They're like, total ranking is still somehow 31st because they got so many times early in the season. But it's crazy. But they're number 1 pass defense in the past 8 weeks. What, in your head, is the biggest part of this dramatic change? What are you most impressed by, Richard?
The secondary is what I'm most impressed by. Obviously, Humphries is having a Pro Bowl season. He made the Pro Bowl and might even be an All-Pro season, if they put him in third spots because he's been so versatile. But moving on from Marcus Williams was a big deal for them, and no offense to him, but, ever since they moved Kyle Hamilton back to safety and our Darius Washington to other safety, it's just been an incredible turnaround. They're playing really fast. They're playing a lot of man-to-man coverage. They're tight. Tre'Davious White, has played some pretty solid football up to this point since he's gotten traded from the Rams, and all of that matters. The pass rush is getting home. I think everything's marrying up together. The rush gets hot, the coverage gets tighter, everything works together, and it's all worked successfully for Baltimore. And
you gotta love seeing I would consider now the OGs just having crazy years. I'm looking at Marlon, go off, Marlon. I'm looking at Kyle Van Noy, let's go. Right. Van Noy has had a resurgence. Crazy. Man. I love what Fruit Punch is doing, man. He's going out there, he's balling, he's doing his thing. It's great to see. It's great to see their whole defense. Baltimore is just, you think about defense when you think about Ravens. How would you do against a guy like George Pickens? Because I feel like the NFL gods get it right mostly, but I feel like I was robbed of you and George squaring off. I think I'd do pretty well. He's a tall guy. He makes a lot of catches on go balls. He's vertical. He's dynamic laterally, but I obviously, confident guy. I would believe that I'd get the job done and be able to have success. But I like him as a player. I think he's really dynamic. I think what he does well fits what Russell Wilson does well in deep balls and pushing the ball down the field. So, but if he's healthy, I think they got a great chance. Yeah. But he had a rough game their last go round, so I'm sure he's going to be tough on himself. I feel like you would stop him. That's what I think. I think he plays right into your hands. I think he's just built I think you dominate that matchup. Just saying. Last one for you. Pete Carroll. He's got a job today. I saw you have a LinkedIn. You said you're open for jobs. We can talk about that another time. You're too busy. But we have Pete Carroll interviewing for a Bears head gig today. He has to fit with Caleb. He has to fit with the culture there. Do you think he should be the coach of the Bears? Yeah. Why? I think he's going to get a coaching job just because he's a culture builder, and I think everybody's gotten to this cutesy mindset of offensive genius or defensive genius, and they forgot about building a culture of a team, and he's built with young quarterbacks. He's built with quarterbacks people threw away, and he's had success building defenses. All the pieces are there for him to be really successful. Richard, you are such a legend. So, truly, and I tried to get you on the show for 3 years, so I'm so happy that this worked out. Thank you to Amazon. You can watch Sherm and the whole TNF crew on Saturday starting at 7:30 p.m. Eastern for Prime Video's first ever wild card playoff game. When I was a young cat in this business, you were so good to me always, so thank you so much. And listen to the Richard Sherman podcast as well. Thank you so much. Good luck on Saturday. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. It's great to see you. Great to see you. Bye, Richard. So fun.